I grew up with Dalida. Not just Dalida, Aznavour, Enrico Macias, all this French, even Dean Martin.
70s, all the 70s.
60s, even before, Dean Martin, Paul Anka, Frank Sinatra, of course. All of this era was my favorite.
That's your dad's generation, basically.
I know.
But is it the snob thing? Do people don't want you to do this or that?
It's the snob thing in the opera world, actually, and that I had to fight. And this was also another pivotal moment in my life, because I had to make them see how good I was in opera, despite me singing this.
This episode is brought to you by EFG Hermes One, your one app for investing in more than 35 stock markets worldwide. Welcome again to What I Did Next from A&T Media. I'm Malak Fuad. Last week, I welcomed mezzo-soprano Farah Eddebeni to the show, where she told me about the pivotal moments in her career. On today's episode, Farah tells me all about the world of opera and how she became known as the Egyptian Carmen. I'm going to ask you a very ignorant question. It's partly because I don't know the difference, but I also would like you to explain, maybe clarify for the audience a little bit. You're a mezzo-soprano.
Yes.
How is that different to a soprano?
That's actually, both are voice types.
Yes,
so,
I know that.
So you're born with a voice type, with a certain voice type. Your vocal cords determine your voice type. So for females, you call them soprano, mezzo-soprano, and alto. And for males, it's tenor, baritone, bass.
And that's the level, the depth of your voice, right?
It's not. It's the register of your voice. It's the register, like where your voice sits, like the pitch. So a soprano has more higher pitch. The mezzo has higher and lower. That's why mezzo. It's in between.
Middle, yes.
Middle, and alto is more lower pitch.
Right.
I started as an alto. That was my natural voice type. I was born with a very low, deep voice, which is rare, actually rarer in females. You usually find females with higher voices, with higher pitches. And because when I went to study in Germany, when I studied opera, I was able to develop higher notes. I was able to develop into a mezzo-soprano. Some people ask me, could you be a soprano one day? I get this question often because people don't understand what is a soprano and what is a mezzo.
Yeah.
Actually, rarely, because if my nature is deep and low, then my voice sits in a certain register. With age, after, for example, the menopause, the voice changes. Then sometimes things happen.
Does that mean that some roles will always be out of reach?
Yes.
Right?
That is the
case.
The case already. I don't sing soprano roles. Like I would only sing Carmen, for example. It's a mezzo role. Carmen, Sanson Dalila. There are
And do composers or conductors, more appropriately conductors, ever tweak the composition to fit the sound of a singer, or do they adhere to that rule always?
No, in opera you don't change what the composer wrote. It is made. The composer even writes the role. This role is for a soprano. This role is for a tenor. It's very specified. Some roles are actually for both. They write even mezzo or soprano. So it depends. So it's rare when it doesn't really happen. You don't tweak it. It's written in a register that is naturally made for a certain voice type.
I see. And in terms of the counterpoint, so the male singer who is with you, is there traditionally a type of voice that matches yours?
Yes, it's a tenor. The tenor. A tenor. Actually, the tenor matches everything. So
yes,
the tenor matches the soprano and
and because your voice is quite deep, you don't want to have another deep voice alongside it. So you need something a little higher,
contrasting.
Right? Yeah, contrasting
exactly.
it. Yeah,
it's very rare when you find a baritone with a mezzo having a duet. It's very rare. Like you can find some duets, but very rare. It's usually a tenor, like Carmen, Don José, tenor and mezzo. Sanson Dalila, same. So it's always there.
I want to get into a little bit more about your process. So how do you prepare for a performance? Let's say, and how far ahead do you get booked up? Is your calendar full for the next 6 months, for the next year?
It's not like full, but I have some bookings for next year. I have some free time this year. So there's no rule, actually. I don't have a rule. Sometimes I get like very last minute things as well, which is kind of my thing because
Really?
I developed a way of handling last minute big events like the one where I sang for Macron or
Yes.
the FIFA, the World Cup. That was all
Yes.
very last minute.
Those are sort of one-offs, right? They're like one evening. But let's say you're hired for the starring role in an opera that's going to run for a month, 2 months, whatever. Those are the roles, I'm assuming, that take a lot of preparation, right?
Yes. When I'm preparing an opera role, of course, it's already way ahead. I have to know
Of course.
a year in advance or something. It doesn't happen like last minute.
Yeah.
Although now, growing up actually in the career, you can get not last minute, but like a couple of months before because they know that you've sang the role before. But I mean, in
And for
general,
you too, you're more aware of what to
Yeah.
do with that role, right?
exactly. So for me, it takes to prepare a new role that I don't know at all. It could take up to 2 or 3 months
Yeah.
to work it like musically, know it by heart, kind of have it in my body, and then you start the rehearsals. During rehearsals, you also learn and you grow into the role. It happens during that. So it can take, I don't know, it can take up to 5, 6 months. I don't know. It depends on how big the role is as well. If I know the role already and I'm singing it again, then I just need to refresh it a couple of months or a month, 2 months, maybe a month before the rehearsal time starts.
And a lot of creative people, especially those who are in front of publics, have rituals, little things
Yes.
that they do, maybe for superstition or just to get in the right frame of mind. And athletes have as well,
Of
actually.
course they do, yeah.
Do you have things like that you need
Mm.
to do before you get on stage?
The day of the concert
Yeah.
or of the performance, there are some things like I need to. First of all, I don't speak a lot on the phone. I don't like to see people at all. I make it a point that I'm kind of a bit isolated.
You want to get in the zone, right? Of what you
Exactly.
need to be doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't want
Yeah.
distraction.
Yeah.
I don't talk about any other subjects on that day. I'm just focusing on myself. And so what I do is I also disconnect. Like it's not like I'm sitting the whole day thinking of what I'm going to be doing on the evening at all. I just watch TV. I watch like my favorite black and white movies, Egyptian black and white movies. I eat my favorite food. I have like I know exactly when to start my makeup, when to start, getting ready. It's all therapeutical, kind of.
Yes. Yes.
Everything I do.
And it gets you into the character of who you're playing.
Yeah.
It's a process. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
most
Yeah.
importantly is I don't like to see people because they take my energy, they
Of
use
course.
it, and they distract me in a bad way. But
Yeah.
watching something doesn't distract me in a bad way. It actually makes me get myself together and be more focused and anchored.
And it calms your mind. It stops your mind
Totally,
going
yes.
crazy.
Exactly. I don't like to think about anything that has to do with the performance on that day.
Do you meditate? Is that one of the things that helps you?
I do that, but only before going on stage, right before going on stage. That's the last thing I do. It's just for 5 minutes or something, not more, with breathing exercises that I do, certain breathing that just calms my breath and that makes me also focused on what I have. And then if, for example, I'm a bit worried about certain things in the role or in the songs that I'll be singing. I'm worried about forgetting the text, for example, because I know that
Yeah.
this part is like, then I kind of go through this mentally. I do a lot of mental work on that day.
Yeah.
No vocal work, no technical work at all, just mental.
And how do you decide on your look? Let's say, I mean, obviously not for operas. Operas, you have you're in a character and that's all predetermined. But
Yes.
when you have your individual performances with an orchestra or you're alone on stage, how do you've got such an amazing look. It's very bold. It's very striking. You could be standing at the very back of the audience and you're very striking on stage. How do you decide, on your gowns, on your hair, on your jewels? How does that all come together? Is that all you, or do you have someone to help you?
That's all me. That's actually part of what I was telling about constructing the concept of every concert or thing that I do.
Yeah.
coming from architecture, because first of all, that's one of my favorite parts, like choosing my
It's so
outfits,
much
and
fun, right?
I love it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
enjoy this process as well.
You're good at it. I mean, your selection is lovely. You have a lot of taste. It's very elegant and at the
Thank
same
you.
time, bold,
Mm,
which is what you need to be on stage.
of
Yeah.
course. Yeah. And it's me. It's my
Yeah.
personality
Yeah.
on stage.
Yeah.
It's just I like to I have a feeling, I always have a feeling of what I should be wearing or how I should look like. I imagine
Yeah.
myself, I see it
Yeah. Yeah.
in such a setup. Like, for example, I have a concert by the pyramids. I feel something. I feel the
Yeah.
colors, which color palette that I should be using, which kind of jewelry. I always like to have an Egyptian touch in my jewelry, whatever I'm singing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like this feeling to just show this Egyptian heritage that we have. But sometimes also I just use diamonds. I use like other things.
And do you collaborate with the designers? Do they loan you things or are you purchasing all this yourself?
No, no, you
How does
don't.
it work?
You don't
No, apart
purchase.
from
No.
the jewels, not the jewels, but
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
gowns, for example.
Some of the gowns I keep or I have, or the designers just gifted. Some no, because it just nowadays they just kind of loan you
Yep.
the dresses. I have certain designers that I feel comfortable with, and I keep repeating, kind of working with them, because especially because I see that they have different styles. They're not the same thing, you know. So
Yeah.
that's this way I can always change, because I don't like to
Yes.
repeat myself also in what I wear. I like to, have different kind of.
Yeah. Does it tend to be custom that they create for you, or are you buying ready-made, or how does it work?
No, it's custom for me.
Not buying, sorry,
Uh,
just
well,
getting ready-made.
it's the designs that they already have
Yeah.
usually, and they just send me my like sample size or whatever. It
Right.
depends on
Right.
how. Some designers, for example, I collaborate with a very good and famous Moroccan designer that does kaftans. She
Yeah.
has a very modern taste, like it's not the typical. So I really like her stuff, and I use them in certain countries, in certain
Yeah.
events. Some
Yeah.
so she does things specially for me, custom made.
Right.
She
Right. Right.
customizes everything because she also has a vision, and
Sure.
she she
And it's
understands my
aligned with
profile.
you, so you
Exactly.
found a combination there that was
Exactly.
working. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. So just, and sometimes I just wear designers that I never wear. It depends, but rarely. I usually use the same ones.
This episode is brought to you by EFG Hermes One, your one app for investment across more than 35 stock markets worldwide. With EFG Hermes One, you can buy and sell orders in real time for immediate execution across multiple global markets. You can keep track of your favorite stocks by creating and customizing multiple watch lists, and make informed investment decisions with their advanced technical analysis tools to study market trends and investor behavior. So supercharge your financial journey and download the EFG Hermes One app on the Apple App Store and on Google Play and start investing today. Welcome back to my conversation with mezzo-soprano Farah Dibbani. So I know that you are multilingual, and I think a lot of opera singers have to be. What is your favorite language to sing in, and why?
Favorite language? I think Spanish. I enjoy singing in
Really?
Spanish. Yes. It's one of my
And
favorite languages, really. I feel at home, although it's not like one of the fluent languages that I speak, but I still speak it. I understand it and speak it, but it's not like, other languages.
yeah,
But I just feel so like home. It feels so close to my phonetics, to my, I don't know, to my physics, to my
it
physical.
matches your way of singing as well.
Exactly, and the temperament, the passion that is there in the language and the music of it. It's just it fits me, so I love it.
And what is your favorite stage physically? I mean, which opera house is your favorite? I think you're gonna. I think I'm gonna guess you're gonna say Paris because it's
Yeah,
where your heart has been.
yeah, and I never left there. I try. I never found the same energy, the same thing that I felt on that stage.
You began your professional career, right, with the Paris Opera?
No, I started long before in Germany. During my studies, I already was singing and performing. I did Carmen, performed the role of Carmen twice already in Germany in different places
Yep.
before I had finished my master's. I
Right.
did Dido and Aeneas, also a very famous role, also long before I was. So I was already working professionally in Germany before I went to France.
Mm.
But I mean, Paris was the big, like, it was. the first big opera house that I went to, let's say. That was
And I think your professional maturity happened in Paris, right?
exactly.
Is that fair
This,
to say?
yeah,
Yeah,
because I was thrown into the international scene.
exactly.
So I was really thrown into it.
Yeah.
Like suddenly I was between, I was in one of the most important opera houses in the world
Mhm.
with like very famous singers around me, watching them, working with them. It was a very important
Yeah.
moment.
You've spoken already just now about playing Carmen.
Mm.
It, Carmen is in Spanish, right?
No, in French.
It's in French.
Yeah, the story is Spanish, but it's in
So
French.
you've been known as the Egyptian Carmen. It became a sort of a name that people
Name.
have put on you. How many times have you played her?
Like full roles, three different productions, but how many times? It must be over 50 times or something like
What
that.
is it about? What is it about the role that is so inspiring for you?
Uh, it's such a sophisticated role. I love that about it. Aside from the music and how beautiful the music is, I mean, the music of the whole opera is just incredible, and
Yeah.
everyone loves it. It's just a very,
Yes.
very close to people. But the role as itself, as Carmen, is very sophisticated, very deep, has so many facets that also suit my personality, kind of. So
Yeah.
I can see myself in all of these facets. I can express myself naturally in such a role because I feel she's tackling so many things and fields that you know uh, that feel close to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like I grew also with that role. I've sang it in different stages of my life, and I feel like every time I felt like I was maturing into it. And I was also learning, I was maturing as well, not just
Yeah.
for the role, but for Farah.
And you said that you've sang her in three full productions, apart from
Mm.
when you've sang a few songs here and there.
Extracts and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So how do you change it for each of those three times and for the future?
It's totally different because every time there was a different concept given by the director, the way he was seeing the whole opera. So every time I played it differently. There was one of the times that I was wearing a tuxedo. It was a Carmen in
I saw
trousers.
that. You were
Yeah,
wearing a white tuxedo. I saw that.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
with a
So
top hat.
exactly, yes. So this was, for example, for me, a kind of okay. Carmen usually is like she's a gypsy. She's always
Yeah,
wearing,
long skirts.
long
Yeah,
skirts, and
yeah,
but I was actually doing this in pants, doing the role in pants. So there, I had to find another way of presenting Carmen, which was also in the role because it fits Carmen to be to be in pants, like a woman, the woman wearing the pants in
yeah,
the
yeah,
in the
yeah.
whole
Interesting.
relationship.
So you move on stage differently. You act
Yes.
differently.
I felt like the tuxedo gave me power and strength and gave Carmen, not me, gave Carmen this kind of, confidence and which suits her totally. So I found
Yeah,
it very
yeah.
interesting. Instead of just doing the cliche of Carmen that everyone sees every day, nothing special. This I found very special actually.
So you're also associated with, or maybe I picked this out from reading about you and listening to you, with Dalida. So
Ah, yeah,
she's close to your heart.
very.
Uh, Tell me about that. I think your father was a big Dalida fan, and you'd
Yeah,
have it at home. And tell me about that.
exactly. Exactly. I mean, I grew up with Dalida. Not just Dalida, Dalida, Aznavour, Enrico Macias, all this French,
Yeah,
even
the
Dean Martin,
70s, all the 70s.
60s, even before, like
Yeah, yeah.
Dean Martin, Paul Anka, Frank Sinatra. Of course, all of this era was my
That's
favorite.
your dad's generation, basically.
I know, but I know whenever I say this to someone, he said, "But you're too
Yeah,
young for that." I mean, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that's my favorite era. in
Yeah.
music.
Yeah,
Really, it's
yeah,
my favorite.
you're influenced by your parents. My parents too have certain, things that they like that I took on
Took
board and
yes.
like as well. Spending all these important years in France, Dalida, of course, is so ingrained in the French
Mm.
psyche.
Oh yes,
That
yes, yes,
music is
yes,
so
yes,
important in France. I
yes,
mean, they
yes.
revere Dalida,
Of
you know?
course, I think it was all meant to happen that I moved to Paris, to Dalida's, city, let's say,
Adopted city. Yeah,
adopted
yeah.
city. I mean, I grew up with Dalida. I used to sing it since I was very young in concerts that I gave in Egypt already. But when I went to France, and my dad, I have to say, my dad has always been telling me, "You will sing Dalida, like you will become this like Dalida reincarnation one day." He always believed that that's
And your voice suits her so well. I mean,
yeah, it's naturally very similar.
yes,
Like
yes.
we have the same type of voice, kind of.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's so when I went to France and people, of course, for them, Dalida is like a huge icon, and she's Egyptian as well.
mhm,
For them, a
mhm.
lot of them kind of connected me with her in a way, especially when they heard me sing Dalida. So even at the Paris Opera, they started to tell me, "Why don't you sing one Dalida song in this concert, like opera, but just one Dalida song?" And then I started doing that, and everyone was so, they loved it.
Yeah,
And then it just got, let's say, it started to spread everywhere. So I started to give only Dalida concerts on the side.
yeah.
I started, and it developed into me kind of doing a lot of TV shows in France, French TV, like big concerts with a lot of Dalida songs. It just developed
I
into that.
think it's so important to bring in the popular music. Getting people re-engaged in any kind of music is
Yeah, of
important, and it
course.
it translates eventually to opera. When I was in my 20s, if you told me go and listen to opera, I would have laughed.
I know. Yeah, I know what
My
you mean.
husband and I are going to spend some time in July in the UK. We're
Mm.
going to watch Marriage of Figaro
Yeah, nice.
with some friends. I mean,
Mm.
it's your musical taste changes, I think, as
Changes.
well, and you become more open to other
Of
things.
course. But it was not easy, I have to say, to make people believe in me as an opera singer, as the opera singer that reached this level of Paris Opera and all of that, and to be still singing pop songs. Because Dalida is, at the end of the day, is a pop.
Is it the snob thing? Do people
Yeah.
don't want you to do this or that?
It's the snob thing in the opera world, actually, and
Yeah,
that I had to
sure.
fight. And this was also another pivotal moment in my life because I had to make them see how good I was in opera,
Yeah,
despite me singing this. And also, and what I have to say, with time, they started, the opera people or the snob people, with time, they started to actually see how important it was that I'm mixing both. It took me a lot of years to kind of establish this mix and to be doing both so well and to convince those people that it's doable and that it's actually smarter than just being in.
I 100% agree with you, and I think by doing that, you bring an audience to the classical
Of
world.
course,
Might not have come anyway. Yeah,
that's what I've did in Egypt. I mean, why do people now care about opera singers suddenly?
yeah,
It's because I started, whenever I came to Egypt, I used, like, since I left to Germany, I did a concert every year, especially in Alexandria, the Biblioteca of
yeah,
Alexandria. They have,
yeah,
they have an orchestra there, they have an established musical or art
yeah.
center, and also at the Cairo Opera House. So I made, I made it a point, especially in the past, like since 2019, to do both, to present opera, but also songs like Dalida or Fairuz and or others or Asmahan, to introduce both audiences to each other and to both music genres.
Voilà,
It's the
that's it.
truth. Yeah,
I
nice.
really love that. Thank
Me
you so
too,
much.
Malak. Awi, really. Thank you. No, it was a lot of fun and natural, and I like it this way. I prefer it this way.
Me too. I just regret that we couldn't do it in person. It would have been fun
I
to do
know.
this live. Thank you for joining me today. This show was produced by Chirag Desai. You can watch full video episodes on YouTube and on Spotify, and audio episodes are available on Apple Podcasts and other podcast platforms. In a couple of weeks' time, Amy Moefi returns to the show as part of our Encore series. I hope you can join me then.